Hey guys, it's Happy Green Cow here, and hey Path, it's Happy Green Cow here. Okay, so the purpose of this video is specifically two things. First and foremost, it's to maybe give people a goal and let people understand what their goal is, why they should be aiming to get there, and how they should be aiming to get there. The second part of this video, or the second goal of this video, is to help a guy named Path in the Discord who essentially needs help. He sounds really confused about what he should be aiming for and why he should be aiming for things, because he's asked for advice a whole bunch of times, and it just doesn't sound like he knows what he should be aiming for. So he's got things, he knows that they're okay to keep, but he doesn't know what or how he should be building his team. So that's what this video is going to address. Essentially that, because what happens is when people start this game, they don't want to waste their good Nat 3s or Nat 2s. Of course Nat 4s as well, but who wastes a Nat 4? So they get these characters, or these creatures, and they don't want to accidentally feed them or just not level them up until it's, you know, they're way late into the game, and then they start leveling up a level 1 character from, well, creature from way back in their inventory, and it just takes a whole bunch more time. So essentially the goal that we want to try and aim for is Glyph 10. So a Glyph 10 dungeon, which is, let's bring that up. This is the end game essentially at the moment. It's where you want to go to farm things. Well, I guess maybe real end game is Tower Trials, but Glyph Dungeon is where you spend most of your time when you're at max level and you've got a good team. So you'll be spending a whole bunch of your time at Glyph level 10, because any of these ones, because that's where you get the best glyphs. The highest Glyph Dungeon has the highest probability of dropping purple glyphs for you, and purple glyphs are great. They are the best glyphs that you can get in the game, so that's what you want to get. So that's what we want to try and aim for. We want to try and aim for Glyph 10. Now, all of the newer players, or even mid-game players, they won't be anywhere near Glyph 10. If they've tried Glyph 10, they haven't, because they are probably stuck around like here, maybe 6, 7, 8. Possibly they tried 9 and failed. They probably haven't even tried Glyph 10 before. Because Glyph 10, you essentially need a full-fledged team of 5 stars, and they need to be decently glyphed already. So what's going to happen with a lot of players is they're going to be farming, I think, 7 and 8 for a fair while before they can get decent yellow and a couple purple glyphs, to then progress to 9 and 10 and see how they go from there. But generally the endgame begins at like 7, 8, and you farm those a whole bunch to get some decent yellow glyphs, and occasional purple will drop, but you'll get a whole bunch of decent yellows which you can build up, and that's what you can take with your team into Glyph 9 and 10 and get those high chances for purples there essentially. So that's the goal. That's the goal that everyone's aiming to achieve, or aiming to get to, but people don't know about because they can't see it, I guess, and they don't know what's there. They don't know how hard it is, and they don't know what kind of team to build for it, and they don't know what's good and what's bad. All they have is a tier list, or suggestions from people that they're speaking to, but they don't really know how it feels to put up 4 characters against 5 waves of really, really hard monsters, and then just get them all smashed, and then cry about it, and then have to go back to the drawing board, pretty much. Okay, cool. So, nope, not that screen. Where is it? So, Menagerie, there we go. Essentially, in this video, what I want to try and explain to everyone is what kind of team you should be aiming for, and what's going to get you running Glyph 10 without an issue. So what's going to get you running Glyph 10 consistently, and without many deaths, because you don't want to die when you're spending energy. So, to eventually get to that stage, and this applies for Glyph 7 and 8 as well. Generally, the rule of thumb at the moment for newer players is that you want 2 healers, and then 1 support, and then the last one is a DPS. Now, that last DPS character is going to have to be a poisoner of some sort. You might get like really lucky and have a really good DPS character, which you can use instead of a poisoner, but generally the reason why we use poisoners is because you don't have to glyph them with attack glyphs. You don't have to glyph them with crit rate or crit damage glyphs. You can glyph poison creatures with HP and defense. So no matter how strong Glyph 10 dungeons are, if you have enough decent HP and defense glyphs on your creatures and your poisoner, then they'll be able to live through the waves and eventually get healed up by your team and poison the enemies to death. Now, the reason why this works is because the way poisoning works in this game is it's not based on your attack or your crit or anything like that. Poison is really simple. When it's applied to a monster or a creature, on their turn, it deals 10% of their HP to them. So if we have, like, I don't know if I have any poisoners on this account, because I don't think I've been too lucky with poisoners. No, I don't. Oh, nothing up here though. Okay, cool. So this account's not so lucky with poisoners. I've got a different type of luck. But essentially with poisoners, what we're looking for is... Oh, wrong one again. What we're looking for with poisoners is creatures like this one. This one does a poison, so attacks all enemies, inflicts damage first of all. Then it grants, this is actually a pretty good creature, grants all of your creatures elemental advantage, and also poisons the enemy for all of the enemy creatures for 2 turns. So it's just 1 poison stack per enemy creature, but that's 10% of the enemy's health each turn. So just keep ticking away until the enemies die. Arcane Birds a decent one. There are a couple of other good ones, like... where's that Water Felicore? Here we go. So Water Felicore's got one, it does the same thing, so poisons all enemies for 3 turns, so 1 more turn than the Firebird, and it also stops them from receiving healing effects, which is really useful in some levels of TOT. So that guy's really neat. I don't think that's too helpful in Glyph 10 dungeons, but I honestly can't remember. My Glyph 10 team is really different these days. But he's also really good. One of the best poisoners, or the best Nat 3 poisoner, I should say, is the Earth Felicore. So, where is he? He's over here. And his poison's a little bit different. It simply attacks all enemies, and then poisons them twice. So it applies 2 poison stacks for 2 turns. I think the upgrade of this might turn that to 3 turns, I'm not too sure. But yeah, he's really good because that's essentially 20% of the enemy's health every turn, which is great. So these are the creatures that you want in your team. So again, we want 1 poisoner, then 2 healers, and then the last one's going to be a support. So those are examples of poisoners. So we only want 1 poisoner. In some cases we want 2, but depends on how good your glyphs are. Now, in terms of healers, so what I mean by healers are... Let's see, oh, we're in the wrong area. Let's go to water, because water's got a bunch of good ones. So in terms of really good healers, there's Water Fox. Water Fox, you can upgrade his skill 3 to, first of all, it's reusable every 3 turns, and second of all, the heal all allies goes up to 40%, so it's 40% heal on your team every 3 turns, which is really nice, and it gives them a quick little attack bar boost and a couple other things. So Water Fox is really good. Another really good probably one of the best creatures for Glyph 10 farming is the Water Tree, because he applies a regen debuff to your whole team, which is really good. So it gives all your creatures health regen. It also gives them poison mail, which poisons the enemies when they attack, so that's exactly what you want. And it gives your creatures extra defense, so it makes your creatures hard to kill, heals them, and gives them poison mail. So Water Tree is one of the best healers slash buffers for Glyph 10. What else is a good healer? There is Water Druid. Water Druid's pretty good. It does a nice big heal to your whole team and gives them a defense buff. That gets upgraded to 2-turn defense buff, I'm pretty sure. And then her second is also a spot heal, so just one ally that it heals. So this is just like a straight up healer, Water Druid. Pretty good. I think there was also Air Druid or Air something. I don't know if it was Air Holy Sister or Air Druid, can't remember. Yeah, no, not that one. Definitely Air Druid. Yeah, this is the one. The Air Druid's pretty sick as well. Heals all your allies and then gives them a regen. So that's pretty good. Pretty nice healer. It's an AoE heal, so it heals a whole bunch of you guys, and does a good job at it too. Another one of the most famous healers out there is a Fire Tree, wherever he is. There he is. Every single time he attacks and gets a crit, he pops off a 20% heal to your whole team. So every single turn he heals if you have him on 100% crit rate. That's just really good. It's really strong. It's really strong. So those are examples of healers. All of those examples were AoE healers, so they apply heals to all of your team, not just one creature in your team. The single spot heals, they're not as good, because a lot of the types of attacks that you get caught with your pants down by are the ones that have AoE damage and they hit you, and then they're just going to keep AoEing you down, and you won't be able to keep up sustainable healing if you're just healing one character at a time every 3 turns or something. So that's why the AoE heals and the AoE regens are really good for your team. So those are the types of healers you want to go for, and you want 2 of them. Yeah, so that's what you want there. The last one is going to be a support character. So honestly, you can just go for a 3rd healer if you're struggling. But a support character is really easy to get. One of the sort of easiest ones to get, and that everyone can get because you can farm him from one of the scenarios, is Waterbird. Waterbird's great because the way in which he supports your team is that he decreases the attack of all the enemies, so they just deal less damage. I think when you upgrade this skill, it gets pushed down to a 3-turn cooldown, and the debuff lasts 2 turns, so you can almost keep it up the whole time. His 3rd ability gives your whole team a shield that just straight up decreases the amount of damage that you receive. So that's really good. He's just great at mitigating damage. On top of that, his actual damage by himself isn't too bad either. This is an attack that attacks all the enemies too, so he can dish out a little bit of damage whilst providing really nice support and keeping your team alive, which is what you want. So, really good. Another good support character is... where's that Fire Druid? Should have done that one first, but I really wanted to show the Water Bird, because everyone can get a Water Bird. Not everyone's going to have a Fire Druid. Fire Druid gives all of your team a defense, speed buff, and makes them immune to harmful effects. I can't remember what this gets upgraded to. I think it's on a 4-turn cooldown, and I don't know if it lasts 3 turns or not. But either way, it's really good. And it also increases the healing that you receive, so you actually have to have a heal to do that. And her second is a spot heal. That also increases speed. So this character is really good because it increases the overall speed of your team. Makes your team take more turns, essentially, by increasing speed, so it's really good. And then also has the defense buff, immunity buff, and increases healing received buff. It's just all around good. So it's a really good support character. Okay, cool. So those are essentially... That's what you need to make a team. You need 1 poisoner, and then you need 2 healers, and then 1 support character. And that's it. That's pretty much a Glyph 10 team right there. And then you can just take that straight to Glyph 10. Well, once you farm up some decent runes, glyphs, you can glyph them up so that they all just have a bunch of HP and HP and defense, and take them higher and higher and higher up the Glyph dungeon chain till you get to 10, and farm that without an issue. Now, the runs won't be super quick because you're not DPSing. Your strategy is to poison the enemy and make sure that your guys live, so that you can keep poisoning them and they can't kill you because you've got too much sustain in your team. You've got too much support, too much heals. They can't kill you. That's what you want to try and aim and achieve. Cool. So, with all of this said, the reason I mentioned Path is because we have his creature list here, which is right here. So, conveniently, he just happens to have, totally conveniently, he just happens to have Fire Druid, so that's good. Fire Druid is a good support. He also has down there. It's the Water Druid. So Fire Druid is going to be his support / healer, and then Water Druid is going to be his healer. And then his DPS, he has a choice between his Firebird, which is over here, and the Water Felicore, which is down there. So he can choose either one. Yeah, he can really choose either one. They're both good. Just his own preference. He's already got a Firebird at max 3-star, so maybe that one. And as for his last choice, so that's his Poisoner. His Poison is here. His support / heal is Fire Druid, that's over here. His healer is Water Druid, that's down there. And then he doesn't actually have a good second healer. So this is the part that's a bit rough. He's got all of these kind of other creatures, but none of them actually provide good healing aside from the Water Druid. So that kind of sucks a bit. He's got a couple of like spot healers, but nothing that provides really good healing. So what he can do is just use the Waterbird. So he'll end up having one healer, which is the Water Druid, and one healer / support, which is the Fire Druid, and then one full support, which is the Waterbird, and then one DPS, which is the Firebird. So he can give that a go and see how that works. That should be able to carry him through without too much of an issue. I'll just do this. There we go. So these are essentially the five creatures you want to build up for it. As for kind of what you want to do, really is a choice. The healer's definitely there for sure. The Water Druid needs to get up to 5-star. You need that Water Druid as your healer. It's your best healer / only really good healer there. The support you've got there in Fire Druid is pretty good. You want to use your Fire Druid for support, and she's got like her skill 2 is a heal, but it's not really anything super amazing. But I mean, it might be okay with the amount of support you're getting if you have the Waterbird on top. So yeah, that should pretty much be your team. The reason why I put Firebird and Water Felicore both there as DPS is because I couldn't really decide which one to use. They're both pretty good, to be honest. If it was me, I'd probably use Firebird, just because the Firebird kit is more overall better, especially for farming Glyph 10, which is what you want to aim to achieve. And then probably dump the Water Felicore and get the Waterbird as your last support, and use that. So your team's going to be a bit funky. It would be great if you had 2 healers, but you don't really have 2 solid healers. You've only got one in the form of Water Druid. So you'll essentially be running two types of support, 1 healer, 1 DPS, and that should be good for you. So this is no matter what you get next, no matter what creatures you summon from other stones or upcoming stones, this is the type of layout that you want to go for. So everything I've said in this video you should be able to carry on no matter what creatures you have. Just remember, try get 2 healers, 1 support, and then 1 poisoner. That's what you want. That's your goal to get that. And then once you've farmed Glyph 10 dungeons for about 3 or 4 months, you might have glyphs that you need to make an attacking team instead. But honestly, you really do need to farm Glyph 10 for ages before you can actually get a good attacking glyph team up and running. Unless you have about 20 or 30 nat 4s, then your situation is going to be very, very different. If you don't, then this is what you have to aim for. This is the end goal. This is what you have to try and achieve, and this is how you have to try and go for it. Hopefully that all makes sense, and yeah, good luck.